My name is Marco Paviotti. I work in the DG Environment, so it's the, let's say, the Environment Ministry of the European Commission. What I will be saying today, in fact, it is also shared with the other colleagues from DG Move, the Transport Department of the European Commission. And I will try to provoke you further in the line with this, in the line with the spirit of this workshop today, which is different from the classical presentation, and you will see that this presentation also, it will be an, let's say, not a standard European Commission one. I hope you will enjoy how the European Commission built up the railway noise policy. So I will talk about how do you make policy. I will describe what is the impact on public health. I will talk about the more classical topic like the implementation of a directive and its achievements, and the other EU legislation which concern railway noise. And I will finally go towards the recommendation and next steps that we see as European Commission. So before the policy making start, what do you have around? You have a set of conditions that bound you. These are the treaties of the European Union, international treaties. These are the laws, and these are facts. But you are influencing your decision or as a policymaker by the citizens, by the member states, the governments, and by the industry. And you are there in between. That's the European Commission. So let's now start from one of these boxes, which is the facts. What do we identify in the last round of European noise mapping? That when we look at the problem is a transport problem, and within the transport problem, the railway noise problem, it is still a quite relevant one. It has 1.6 million people highly sleep disturbed, and roughly 6,000 cases of ischemic heart disease and 1,500 premature deaths. It means that the people, because of the noise, they do have a direct and substantial health impact. So this is fact one. And you can, if you want to look at this graph, also compare to the other transport means. Fact two, if we compare the noise health fact to the environmental health fact, which includes the air pollution, includes the chemicals, includes the effects because of climate change, you see in green there, which is the contribution of noise specifically. It is a relevant issue in the general context of having our health as citizens affected. Not only, we are quite unfortunate that the estimates are that for railway, this will increase. You see it in this graph. The first column on your left concerns the roads, and the 3 bars are for the year 2017, 22, and 30. And then you see on the right side what happens for aviation, which is forecasted to reduce, but for railways, which is the one that we want to push because it's green, we have an increase. What happens from, you remember the box lows? This is in a nutshell, the current legal framework in the European Union. We have the TSI's noise. You know them, I think, you know, that this is limits for new trains and prohibition of a specific railways to run noisy trains. We have the noise differentiated track access charges, NDTAC, which means the different trains will pay differently. And we have the funding side, which is the CEF funding, where the trains that needs to be renewed, they can get some extra money. This is for what concerns the train side. But we have also something that is on the side of the rail, which is more the ENV. I'm simplifying this. If you would say, okay, but there are some bits. But in a nutshell, it really, when you talk about the TSI noise, you bottom line, you refer to the trains. And when you talk about the environmental noise directive, you say this is the infrastructure manager and the local authority on the ground that needs to manage the noise. And then END sets action plans to renew the rail and install noise barriers. What will happen next? Be careful. It will be even simpler. Why? Because the noise differentiated rate asset charges are a scheme which is now over. The regulation per se expired. And the CEF funds, there are no requests there anymore, and it will be therefore excluded. So we are in the box, of policy making. We have basically two legal instruments at European level, with whom we need to deal the future noise policy, the Environmental Noise Directive and the TSI noise. What happens from the member state side? So you remember the member state, they are doing something, they are influencing. What are they doing? What is their perception? Well, in the implementation of the noise directive that says you need to do these action plans, the maps and the action plans, the situation was not at its best in the past years. We, as Commission, we ran 15 infringement procedures. So we improved the implementation, having the member state implementing these, adopting this action plan, so that we remain with 8 open cases. And I can anticipate to you at the end of this week, a Commission implementation report will be out. And there you will notice that basically we have 2 member states with substantial issues remaining there only. Therefore, there was from the side of the member states an improvement in implementing noise policy. The maps was an interesting judgment of the European Court of Justice that said there needs to be adopted at whatever noise levels. And because the maps trigger the action plans as well, they need to be there at whatever noise levels, which already tells you that the actual legal framework says wherever there is any kind of noise, shall I try to give my own interpretation, WHO levels or even lower the WHO level, there you need to have in place an action plan. You need to think what the future for the citizen there will be. So despite national limits, nevertheless, and look at this graph, what was done recently was a study that make a sort of survey, and they simplified it completely. The noise limits are relatively complex sometimes, but it's in a simplified way. You see the green line would be the WHO recommended noise levels, while the orange line would the cumulative limits at national level. And you would see that for railways, we have that very few member states would already be at WHO levels, and the vast majority would be something in between 5 and 10 dB more than the WHO level. So it means that the thinking at the moment is also this action plan, eventually they have to do something, but at a level which is 5 to 10 dB higher than what the WHO would have recommended. Despite these national limits, what happens? Oops. Solutions are not implemented, maybe due to distribution of responsibilities. There are a set of factors there, but the point is that if you remember the previous slide, the noise is increasing, the action plans are there, so there is something there that doesn't work. Right? Is it clear that the solutions are not implemented ultimately? The action plans, it means that the solutions are thought of, because somebody has to write and adopt an action plan. But because the noise overall is not reducing, the solutions are not put into place. So what are the achievements of the noise directive, environmental noise directive? The maximum technically feasible noise reduction was potentially 45%. Okay, that was a finding of a recent project, Phenomena, that says, okay, let's say that we do, to the maximum extent, everything absolutely technically possible, and that's where we could get. We also know that with this legal instrument, we have direct cost of only 4 cents per inhabitant per year. And also another important fact, there was a return of 10 euros, roughly. The numbers vary depending on the situation, but to give a sensation of what is the benefit, we also can prove that intervening on noise gives a societal benefits. So solutions are there. Solutions are cost effective. What did this directive do so far? So the directive did a cheap process to harmonize the approaches all over Europe, but did not trigger this noise reduction. And again, I can anticipate you that this is a main findings that you will see in the noise implementation report that the European Commission will be publishing at the end of this week or beginning of next. Now let's talk about the other instrument. You remember that we have two legal instruments, because the other two, even if they are formally there, they basically disappear. So we have TSI and environmental directive. Environmental directive, I said this is TSI. The principle is to reduce the train noise by design. So you do the new product and by design you reduce them. You limit the noisy trains in new railways since 2024. You know, this is a so-called quiet routes. So we will prohibit trains which are non-noisy on your infrastructure network. And now, third box, the industry. What happens with the industry side? This is again taken from this Phenomena project. It shows the potential reduction from different solutions when you model all over the European situation. So let's say that this solution is broadly implemented where meaningful all over you, and you identify that there are solutions like smoothing the tracks and smoothing the wheels that are delivering results. The first on your left side, it shows which is the benefit in terms of health, but the DALIs are the disability adjusted life years, also a sense of a standardized way to measure the health effect. And the other one, the percentage of highly annoyed and highly sleep disturbed people. And what you can get out of this graph on your left side is that these two solutions are there and they would deliver a substantial reduction. On the right side, it also shows that these solutions are cost effective, because whenever you are on the right side from the central line, which represents I pay €1 and I get €1 back from societal benefits, it means the solution is good for the society because it's an investment. So solutions are there. That's the industry where I'm talking about. The industry would say, okay, the solutions are there, solutions are cost effective, you can implement it. The point is, who pays for the industry and this solution to be implemented? And are they safety issues? This is a classical remark that we get when we are talking to the railways. Oh, hold on, no solution to be implemented because here we see a potential safety issue or a safety issue. It's always a potential because in a sense, if you would certainly know that there is an accident, we will never do anything. So we're always talking about risks. And can I fit it into the daily operations? In the sense, I need to run my rail network, and I know you're not telling me I change in, the rail pad, or I need to smooth, or I put the barrier, whatever. It means I have disruptions. And the railway, nevertheless, is the most important transport mean. So out of these messages, what would the citizen say? But the citizen, some in the room, they could recognize this. They would say, go for EU law, standards and regulation. What is this graph? It was a questionnaire done around professional working with the citizens from the environment agencies, where they asked, what do you think that would really serve the purpose of pushing the implementation of noise reduction measure? And you would clearly distinguish that the first two bars are pretty much on the green, so there is strong support for having legal intervention. So the citizen would say, in fact, also go for the limits. Classical statement from a citizen organization would say, go for WHO limits, that is it. They also do, I try to, I took it recently from the internet, and possibly some of you would recognize it, but anyway, this is citizen movement. So, they are organizing themselves and being paradoxically against the railway. So in the industry, you remember the previous stakeholder for us, the industry would say, okay, we are the most friendly transport mean, but the citizen would say the opposite. You say, no, wait a minute, we have an health issue, and you're not tackling it, and they are organizing themselves. Voila, that's the panorama of the 3 blocks at the beginning. So these are the forces that act on us, the policy maker. Try to conclude. Treaties, laws, facts, citizens, member states, industry. Now it is our turn. The Commission now drafts laws, drafts also provisional facts for the future, and proposes, if not imposes, laws to the member states, to the industry, and also eventually to the benefit of the citizens. What will we go in the coming period? Well, here is a bit of the end of this teaser presentation of today, where I try to be you in our shoes and to think, oh, what can we do? And I will, from the next slide, tell you what we will concretely do. We propose policy documents, the Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy, where we made a declaration, we as Commission, the implementation of the European rules on noise will help alleviate related concern. What does it mean? Read in the language of the policymaker, implementation of European rules on rail noise. It means we do have in mind so far to force the member states, the industry, to implement, so to do exactly what is already in the law. And we think that this will already move forward to alleviate the related concerns. So in the political language, this means what is there, if well implemented, it delivers already. You don't need to go for extra laws. We also have another interlinked political program, which is the Zero Pollution Action Plan, where we propose a target, the 30% of reduction by 2030 of the number of people chronically disturbed by transport noise in respect to 2017. So we say as a Commission, we think we can go there, and we will work to go there. And by what? By better focusing on tackling noise at source, in line with the findings of the past evaluation of the directive, not only by securing implementation. You see again, implementation, remember, as we said before, we launch infringement procedure. We are looking at the member state to do what they have to do. So we are stretching to the limit the legislation as is and saying, is that in the law? You do it. And where appropriate, improving the EU noise-related regulatory framework on railways and accompanied by parallel action at the global level. What does it mean? That we also will look at the improvement of the regulatory framework as it is now. It means that we have in mind a TSI and the noise directive. In the noise directive, what we are reflecting upon is assessing the need to set noise reduction targets in that directive, which means our view of how to develop the noise policy in the next future is by looking into target values implemented as an obligation in the directive. That's a bit of a teaser, no? Now we're back in our offices in the Berlaymont, and what do we have? The classical story is here. Well, maybe it's a bit small, but it's here in these 3 blocks. You do business as usual, which means you just do implementation. You don't open anything. You do open a directive, and you do revise also other legal acts, which in our case, it was very likely mean the 2 of them, the TSI and the noise. Recommendation for the future. I don't know if you start nuancing where we go. It's clear that we are in a thinking mode. The facts are implementation. The thinking mode is targets. Reducing the number of people chronically disturbed by transport noise in EU requires action at all levels. This is the first fact that we recommend for the future. The second is the cost-effective solutions we have seen before are there already available, should therefore be applied more quickly, again, by means of better implementation of what we have on the ground. And a limited set of harmonized improvement to a very small number of legislative instruments would make it possible to reduce noise exposure. It means we are not thinking of any big transformation legally, but there is something very punctual that can work very well. And by this, I hope that I had passed you this spirit of the policymaker, different forces, where do we go, laws and interest, and I would like to thank you.